Hey friends, welcome back to the Finding Joy in Your Home podcast. I am your host, Jamie Balmay. I have got my husband, Jason, here joining me.
Hello again.
We are going to be doing another together episode because we are talking about something that the conversation we're having today are conversations that we have been having behind the scenes and that we will continue having throughout this month of December as we head into January.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we try to do well, we don't always do it well, we try to do it well, is scheduling out, planning well for our business. We run a business together full time that supports our family, but also goals for our personal life, for our family. We try to really balance all of that and plan all of that. And we have a lot of discussions around all that. So that's what we're going to be diving in today. We're going to be talking about how do you finish your year well. And that's going to set you up for January, setting new goals for the new year, heading into 2024. Can you believe it?
I don't know. Honestly, it could be the first half of 2023.
We were just planning something. We were planning out a trip and we were talking about things. And I was like, well, it would be like not this next summer, but the next summer. And Jason's like, oh, the summer of 2025. And I was like, no. Oh, we're that close. Okay, that's crazy. All right, so we're going to dive into that. I do have one announcement for you today. We do have our Christmas shop opening right now through December 1st. You can go to findingjoybookstore.com. You can get Jason's Sterling Spectacles books, his children's book series.
They're pretty good. I'm biased, but they're pretty good.
I think they're amazing. All about traveling around the national parks. We also have my cookbooks. I have a brand new cookbook out, Everyday Hospitality and Special Occasions, as well as my other cookbooks. And then we have a bunch of other new fun things this year for the store that would make fantastic Christmas gifts.
There's a lot of cool stuff in the store this year.
Yeah, we've got like embroidery kits and a coloring book about the national parks, some really fun stuff. So go check that out, findingjoybookstore.com. Orders do close December 1st, and it will all be shipping out in time for Christmas. This guy's got a lot of work to do the next couple of weeks.
Gives me a busy December, but it's worth it.
Which is partly why we have to talk about really finishing our year well, because November and the first half of December are the busiest 6 weeks of our entire year for our business. And it's busy because it's Thanksgiving and Christmas time, and we have lots of birthdays. So we do find that for us, November, December are just insane.
Yeah.
Like they go so fast that we really just have to make sure that we are planning things out well. And so we're at this point where it's the very end of November. We've started having conversations about what does December look like? What do we want it to look like? Balancing the fact that we have some really big demands of our time from our business and we have a busy home life. So what do we want to balance?
And it's the holidays. We have a lot of extra things we would like to do as a family or even with friends and things that are unusual because they're unique to this time of year. Yeah. And so it's just always the time where you're kind of racing up to the end of the year and you can so easily just let it pass without actually making any advanced plans, and then you're just at the mercy of the year instead of actually making it do what you want.
Yeah.
So that's why we think it's well worth spending time to make sure you finish the year well.
Yeah, and I think we've had years, in the last few years we've done it better, where we've been very intentional, putting things, even in October and November, putting things on the calendar for December, and once that calendar gets too full, saying no to things, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. But because we've had years where you get to January 1st and you're like, oh man, I didn't do like half the Christmas stuff that we wanted to, or and we've had other times where with our business, we walk into January then feeling super overwhelmed because December was so busy. And so there's a lot there to discuss and check with. And Jason and I both really like the beginning of the new year. You hit January 1st and I'm like, I am ready to go. I've got goals in hand. Yep. We don't set New Year's resolutions as much as we just set goals for our year, the things that we want to work on.
Yeah. More like themes.
Yeah. Well, and specific goals too. In our business, our personal life, homeschool for our kids, we have a lot of areas we like to do that. Yep. And I find that it helps in November and even early December to kind of do a quick check-in. Mm-hmm. How are we doing? How is this next month? Because the month of December, you kind of fit like 3 months worth of stuff into, I feel like.
That's true.
So the more that we can be intentional with that, the better as we then walk into January. I think it just is kind of that domino effect.
Absolutely.
It's the same way, like, I think a morning routine is really, really important. But in order to have a good morning routine, your night routine needs to be set up really well. Yeah. Like if your night routine is set up well, you get to bed early, you set the coffee, like you've done these things, your morning routine is going to go better.
Exactly.
And I think December is that month where if we kind of can set it up well, your January is going to go a lot better.
100%.
100%.
And it's so important to start your year well. If you're dragging into January and the new year, like, how is that bode for the rest of the year?
That's just
like,
hard. I mean, you
limping
can,
into the new year.
You can rebound, but it is nice to kind of get yourself reset.
Yep.
All right. So first thing, Jason and I were kind of talking, what is it that we are focusing right now for December? So the first one really is maintaining balance with health.
Yeah.
Why is that important for us right now?
Well, I mean, because we both, we've had some health issues this year that we've been wanting to improve, as well as the fact that just kind of in a preventative way, it's so easy to get off of any sort of health idea or forethought in the holidays. In addition to just being extra busy, you also are usually surrounded by extra bad food. So it's just worth keeping an eye on any particular health goals you might have to ensure. And I'm not even just talking about like any particular like food diet. I'm including things like sleep, like energy, like even fitting in exercise, and all those sorts of things.
Yeah, I think one thing we have noticed a lot is when we're heading into a really busy season, and thankfully, like we knew going in that November and December, we're going to be busy. It's not our first Christmas shop opening. We know this is a busy time for us. And we're very intentional then walking into it, knowing that we need to be, it's not about necessarily like, oh, I don't want to gain 20 pounds over Christmas. Although like, that'd be great not to.
Not to, yeah.
It's not about like, oh, I can't have Christmas cookies or I'm going to be miserable. What I want to focus on with my health is making sure that I'm taking care of myself in a way that I have the energy to be able to tackle all of these things that we have going on. So the last 2 weeks have been absolutely insane around here. I feel like I'm behind on everything in my life at this moment, but we have done a good job. And we were just talking about it this morning. We've done a really good job right now in this season of being intentional with making sure that we're mostly getting to bed at a good time, that we're getting up in the morning and kind of tackling the things we need to instead of getting that flip-flopped. And when you run your own business and can work on it literally 24 hours a day,
that's easy to do.
It can be hard, yeah. And making sure we've both been doing our exercising, which I think is just so important for you sleep better, you feel better, you're able to kind of tackle your day better. So really working on those things has been really helpful. And I just know that December, we're going to blink and December is going to be gone. And I want to make sure that we've got some semblance of those good routines going on, right? Like not that we're going to be perfect all the time.
Yeah, well, and a good example of this whole idea of actually thinking about finishing your year well is within this area. I have probably in the last month been more consistent going to the gym than I have all year, or at least since like the spring. So, and like, that's the opposite of what I would expect. We're into an incredibly busy season right now. Like you just said, the last 2 weeks have been insane. And yet, because I thought of it in advance and I've been making sure to fit it in, I've actually, like, I'm right now as we sit here, I'm very sore from the gym. My arms, like, I went early this morning and I fit it in, and I'm so happy about that because this is absolutely the sort of time when if you're not really thinking intentionally, that's just the sort of thing that goes right out the window.
So one of these areas that I have been working in particular, I know you have been too, is in eating well. And I'm not talking about like you can't have Christmas cookies or cinnamon rolls. We're recording this before Thanksgiving. We're going to have a fun Thanksgiving. But what I'm really focusing on, and you're doing more strict dieting, which is awesome. Jason's really taking care of his health right now. What I'm really focusing on, though, is making sure that I'm slowing down enough to eat 3 meals a day. Yeah. I am very bad at just like I get busy and I drink coffee and then I drink some more coffee. And I say I'm bad at that. But really in the last, 2 or 3 years, I think I've made great strides in that.
You have.
And especially,
part of that is me harassing you about it.
Do you need some lunch? And I'm like, yes, I do. But especially this year, I have gotten so much better that I am making sure that I'm stopping, that I'm eating. I'm just always running around. There's always things to take care of. And I think our homeschool mornings are so busy that by the time we get lunch done for the kids and I turn around, like, I just realized I've had nothing but coffee all morning. One of those things that's been really helpful though for me is I put collagen in my coffee now every single morning. And that has been helping immensely because right off the bat, without even trying, I have 20 grams of protein.
That is huge for helping you start off strong.
In my coffee. Yeah. Because I'm not actually a big breakfast eater. I love breakfast, but I like breakfast later in the day. I love breakfast for lunch or for dinner. Yeah. But having it at breakfast time is, I just don't always. And so working on some things like that. What are you working on eating wise?
Eating what I'm multiple things. I'm obviously focusing on getting a lot of protein. I'm also I'm focusing on kind of well-rounded. I'm trying to have a lot more greens than I often do, and part of that is I'm having right now I'm having like a very well-balanced smoothie in the mornings. So I have a little bit of frozen berries in there for the sweetness, and then I have like 2 cups of greens, usually spinach, and then I even have some like hemp hearts and what's the other thing? Chia seeds that I put in there, as well as then some like protein powder. And having a kind of a very well-balanced, like a protein heavy, but very well-balanced breakfast is one of the things that really helps me to start well. So that's one of the things I've been focusing on.
One of the things he's focusing on is like no processed foods, no sugars, nothing like that. But the diet he's kind of following right now is meant to be very nourishing to your thyroid and to your adrenals. And so there's a lot of focus there on foods that are actually nourishing to your body, which is really helpful, especially in a busy season. So something like December, it is really easy to go from Thanksgiving leftovers to Christmas cookies to eating all these things, and you're kind of running on a sugar high, and then you crash and you don't have energy. And so I'm not saying don't ever have some fun treats, but when we're heading into a busy season, December, and I mean, January is going to be just as busy for us. Not just as busy, but January is going to be busy
Usually
too.
Busy,
And so making sure that we're taking care of our health as well as the nutrition of our kids. But it really has to start with us, that we're making sure that we are focusing on that is kind of the area that we focus on first. And then we get into planning for the next year and goals and all of that. But one thing we did want to talk about that Jason's been drinking every single day that has been very helpful is this nice little tiny shot right here.
I do love these things.
Why don't you tell them about it?
These are Magic Mind, and I take them.
These are magic.
These are magic.
They're called Magic Mind.
They're called Magic Mind, and they are magic. And the reason I say that is this: they help with energy and also focus and just overall well-being. I am notoriously resistant to feeling effects of almost anything. When I go to the dentist and I need Novocaine, they have to give me the max dose because otherwise it doesn't work. If I take any sort of painkiller, I barely feel it. If I take supplements, like, I don't know, like any supplement that's supposed to like help you feel a certain way, like I almost never feel
You're not very sensitive. You're not like, oh, that made me feel so much better.
So I could probably count on one hand the things I've ever taken in my life that I actually go, oh, I feel that. Like I actually feel a
difference,
a tangible improvement. And this is one of those things. I don't exactly know what it is in it that is helping, but it's loaded with a lot of good stuff.
Oh, I know what it is. I am an ingredient.
I just drink the things
person.
I just drink or eat the things
I approved it so then Mason could drink it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I take these often in the morning for either a morning boost, especially like, I don't actually do any sort of like pre-workout when I'm going to the gym, but I suppose you could almost call this a pre-workout for me because I can take this and it'll absolutely help me to wake up and pick up. And then also,
or even a pre-workout.
I will. It's also low enough in caffeine because caffeine is not what this relies on. I've actually been drinking decaf coffee because I've been having some issues with caffeine right now with too much caffeine. But the amount of caffeine in here, it's pretty small.
Well, the thing is,
not too much. So I actually will sometimes take this in the early afternoon to avoid an afternoon slump.
Well, it has the same amount of caffeine as a small cup of tea. So it's not. So what it is they call it a productivity shot. This is not an energy drink. If you guys can even see it, it's this like really scary green looking color. Where you're like, what is in that? But because it is chock full of all of this stuff that's actually going to help. So it's not this creepy energy drink that's going to give you this high and then you have jitters and you feel awful and it's going to like kill your heart or something insane. It is full of, it's got matcha in it. And then it has all of these, it's got all these adaptogenic herbs, which I'm a huge nerd for. I love adaptogenic herbs. Adaptogenic herbs help your body adapt to stress. So it's helping your body function the way that it's supposed to. So it has ashwagandha in it. It's got rhodiola. It's got turmeric. It's got lion's mane. I mean, you could go on and on. The amount of things that are in this is absolutely fantastic. It is good for immunity and energy and focus, like you said. So it's this great shot. And the reason Jason's the one who ends up talking about it so much is we got a box of these to try out. And they sat on our counter for like a week and a half because I was very newly pregnant, super morning sick, and I just didn't want to, like, I couldn't drink or eat anything, and I'm like, it's green. Like, I just couldn't go there, right? So all of a sudden, I'm like, okay, I really want to try them. All of a sudden, the 3/4 of the box were gone. And I was like, he's like, what are these things? I've been drinking them. So now these are definitely like Jason's go-to favorite thing.
Yeah.
I really like them too. They are a little scary looking with the green.
They don't taste nearly as green as they look. They actually are slightly sweet.
The green is from the matcha, and matcha tastes amazing.
Yeah.
So like, it's not a.
Yeah, it looks like it could be like concentrated grass clippings, but it actually more tastes like
it's
matcha
not like a wheatgrass shot or something.
It's not bad at all. I actually enjoy the flavor.
So they're really good. So these are the ones that as soon as Jason starts to run out, he's like, babe, I only have 5 left of those. So it is really helpful, especially for Jason, who runs our company and is balancing all the things, working from home. There's definitely times where this definitely comes in handy, especially when he's not wanting to consume tons and tons of caffeine or disgusting energy drinks. Like, this is a superfood
way
I said, to be able to.
In the last few months, I've actually been really cutting back on caffeine, like in coffee, because that can make me feel overtaxed by the end of the day.
And or then have trouble sleeping.
You have that mind racing where it's like, I don't even know what I'm thinking about. My stupid mind just won't stop. I hate that feeling. And oftentimes I've tied that to, in retrospect, an excess of caffeine. Yeah. These things do not trigger that in me, and they give me the energy that I need. So I really enjoy it.
It's also nice that you can just kind of like throw it in your bag or gym bag or take it with you. Yeah. So if you want to check it out, go to magicmind.co. You can check out all their great deals that they've got there and try it out, because I think they have like little trial packs and stuff that you can check out everything that they have, which is awesome. All right, so that's kind of taking care of our health. Now, as we're looking at planning December well, let's talk about a couple specific things before we get into goal planning. Mm-hmm. So one thing we kind of touched on is that with so much to do in December, it's really, really easy to get overscheduled. In fact, there's one weekend, the weekend of the 15th, like right in the middle of the month, where we were asked to host something in our house on Friday. And then we're also already hosting something on our house on Sunday after church, and then somebody started talking about something on Saturday, and I was like, no, like, we can't do that thing on Saturday. Like, we have to be very protective, and there's times to say yes. I just came to Jason and said, hey, they're asking if we can host the cookie party for the moms and little kids group at our house on that Friday. What do you think? And we really talked about it critically. Do we have capacity for this? Is this a serving opportunity that we can say yes to? I wanted to say yes if we could, but we had to really talk and say, is this something that is wise for us to say yes to? And we did. We said yes. And we are hosting something on Saturday. But we're also not going to be building anything more into that week when that's also going to be a busy week for business as well. Mm-hmm. So really just looking at our schedule and kind of figuring out what we can say yes to, what we can say no to.
Yeah, because that can be the thing, especially for a holiday season like now, when you're having all these opportunities to either have holiday gatherings, or even like going out and driving around to see Christmas lights, which we love to do.
With hot chocolate.
Or like you said, a cookie party. Like, there's so many things that can come up that you can overload your schedule with, and then you're just absolutely dysfunctional for the month because you're just running from one thing to another.
Yeah.
And so you're
just saying yes to things willy-nilly, and you're not really looking at your overall schedule, realizing and being realistic that that would be too much for that week. And I mean, we're planning this 3-4 weeks in advance, trying to be smart. Not that we don't ever accidentally overload.
Yeah, it still happens from time to time, but it happens a heck of a lot less when you think about it in advance.
Something too is taking into account your unique personality, your husband's personality, your family personality. We are both introverts. And so as much as we love friends and we love people, I need time at home to recharge. Mm-hmm. I do not function well going from a high energy thing to thing outside the home with people. And I love those, but too much of those on the schedule, and my home is not functioning well. Yeah. I am not functioning well. So we both need to take that into account too, of recognizing our capacity loads too. And there's stuff sometimes that maybe Jason will take the older kids to a party that I'm going to stay home maybe with the baby. And there's times where that can work really well too, just depending on the season, right? All right. So let's talk about, last thing I want to talk about here is setting goals for next year.
Yeah.
You and I are big goal people.
We are.
We will do an episode early January sharing our specific goals, our specific breakdowns for this next year. I don't have my goals planned out for next year.
I do not either. Okay. I have been too busy to even think about it.
Right. But it always hits December 1st and I start going, I have a month to plan my things. Yeah. So December is a really great time to start thinking through these things. I don't sit down and just write out my goal list without having thought about it for a couple of weeks or a month. So what I encourage you to do in the month of December is to start thinking through. Start just kind of going, what worked well this year? What hasn't worked well? And start thinking about, what do I want to do next year? And kind of just let your mind wander and kind of think about it and talk about it, so that when it comes down time to like sit down and be like, I'm going to plan this out, you're ready to go with that planning.
Yeah, and it can totally help just to kind of mull it over in the background. Just have it like as a subroutine running in the background. And then by the time you actually are sitting down to start making some decisions, you actually will find that you've actually done a lot of mental work on it, almost without realizing it.
Right.
So it's totally worth doing
thinking about it. Okay, so some things you want to think through is like, how did this year go?
Yeah. What felt good this year and what felt absolutely chaotic and out of control this year.
Yeah. And it's helpful, like if you sit down to do your homeschool this week and you're like, this particular thing is not working, hold on to that. That's okay. Finish your year out and then really think about how for next semester you can change that up. Or I can't keep on top of the house right now, or whatever that goal is, or, really kind of think about that. Did I stay on my goals for this year? So now, Jason, question for you. Are you... For 2024, are you setting a word of the year or a theme of the year? Have you thought about it yet?
I've not thought of a specific thing, but I am a theme guy. So it'll be a theme.
Now I have a question. Do you remember your theme for this year?
That is an excellent question that at the moment, I don't know if I can.
So I have no clue at this point, and I feel like I'm going to look back and go, oh, but at the beginning of this year, we both did say, or at least I said, that I wasn't feeling it as much this year, kind of setting a word or a theme. In past years, I've set kind of a word for my year, and it's not mystical or magical, but it's something that kind of can direct where my focus is going to be, where, maybe your word is rest, and all my goals are kind of coming out of this general theme. And that has served me really well in past years. And this last year, I just was feeling like this is just really not super helpful. Our year has kind of been all over the place. And so it really hasn't been something that has been a theme that I've carried through. Like I don't know what mine was now. And also that's completely fine. Yeah. So as we're thinking for next year, I'm not totally sure where I'm landing on that, if I'm going to kind of have a theme for my year, but this is what I need to be thinking about right now.
Yes. And I'm actually going to have to remind myself of what my theme was for this year, because I had one. I just have forgotten it over the last 11 months.
Yeah. Which obviously though didn't help you that much. It wasn't something that was aiding you. So
the reason I like to have one, and the reason I'll set another one, is I treat it more so.
Does it help you form goals?
Yes.
So like it helps you with that.
What I do is when I'm looking back at the previous year and like what went well and what went horribly, and then I combine both of those kind of lists that I'll make with what am I wanting to increase or improve or like do more of.
Yeah.
I combine all that information together and I see if I can sort of find, something in common with all of those that would lend itself to a singular theme that would kind of encapsulate the changes or improvements or whatever that I wanted to make for that year. And then I set that theme, and that theme, like you said, there's nothing mystical or magical about it. It's literally just, I guess as an analogy, like it's almost like the North Star, that when I'm feeling lost or unsure, I can look up in the sky and I can see it and I know where I'm going.
Like, oh, that's what I want to work on.
That's the priority right now. And so that can help me to make decisions. That can help me to remind myself of, maybe if I'm unsure about something, like where I should be heading. Actually, that was my theme. So, maybe my theme is, like you said earlier, my theme is rest. Okay, well, if I'm really iffy on this, adding this thing to my schedule, that doesn't seem like it would fit my rest theme. So I'm going to say no. If my theme is friends and growing in friendship, then maybe I need to
community.
Community. Maybe I need to take more opportunities. And so I'm going to say yes to this thing. So it could be a million different things, but it is that sort of thing that can help you to make decisions throughout your year.
Yeah. So if you're feeling like your life is absolute chaos and everything is chaotic and you're just feeling like fast paced, all this, choosing rest as your theme could be really helpful.
Right.
And then you look through the different areas and you say, in my school, in my homeschool this year, or in my children's school, what can we do that's more restful?
Right.
You can look at commitments. You can look at just the way that you're running your household and your life and say, how do we incorporate more rest? Do we need to make Sundays more restful? And then all of a sudden you can start to form a goal that we're going to take Sundays are going to be a day of rest and we're going to work towards that. So all of a sudden your goals can really kind of line up. So hopefully in a month, we will have a video for you sharing what our word or our theme for the year is. So this is what we're going to do, is be kind of thinking about that. And what is it that we feel coming out of this year that we need for next year?
Yep.
And kind of orient things around that. Same goes, what are your priorities for next year? Do you have any thoughts on priorities? Have you thought through that at all yet?
That's something, not really. I mean, that really kind of ties into the thinking I do to set my theme, because that goes into the things I want to correct or do more of from the last year, as well as like, are there anything new that I'm kind of prioritizing for the year to come? And I have not done any thinking on that yet.
We've got some big business goals that are going to be a priority that we really, especially the first quarter of 2024, we've got some really big things. I think business priorities are going to be a pretty big thing for next year in our life, and really trying to figure out how do we do that in a way that is still restful and that we're not working too much, hiring more help, hopefully, all of those things. Like, that'll be a big one for us, I think, as we're thinking about it. Next one is reading goal. Are you setting a reading goal for next year?
Yeah, I am.
You're going to do your reading goal different this year. Next year, though.
We were just talking about this a couple weeks ago.
Do you know what you're doing?
I have not decided 100%, but I'm fairly sure. I'm like 80% of the way sure I know what I'm going to do.
So normally we set a reading goal where we set a certain amount of books to read per year.
And I'm going to do that.
Oh, okay. I can't remember what you
I'm going to, yeah. So generally speaking, we've been the last several years, we set 104 books for the year, which is two books per week. And actually, as of recording of this episode, I'm right on track, or maybe even a book ahead.
You may.
I'm definitely going to meet. I mean, unless I like drop off the face of the earth and don't read in December, I will hit my goal this year. I've read 94 books as of the recording of this episode.
I'm like 5 or 6 books behind pace.
I think you said you're like, what, 88, something like that?
88 as of today.
And I'm like 1 ahead. So yeah, you're probably like 4 or 5 behind.
So,
but you can do it.
I don't know. And I'm not fussed. If I hit 100 books, I'm happy. I'm not like...
Yeah, the goal is not something where it's just like, I must hit this magical arbitrary number. It's just to encourage it. It's kind of the thing with a goal or with a theme of the year. We would like to read a lot. It's a priority of ours. And so by setting an actual numerical goal, that can help us to make the decision more often to, what should I do? I'm going to read because I have a goal.
Now, I don't know. If I get close to 100, I might just... make it happen, because unless I'm like reading down to the wire to get that 100, but like
you're on New Year's Eve just like reading 7 books
at once.
11:59.
But yeah, we'll see. Yeah. We'll do kind of a reading goal update. So what are you thinking your goal is going to be this year? You're going to do.
So there's a change.
You're going to set like more categories or something.
Sort of. So I'm going to set a reading goal, but I've been playing with the idea of actually cutting my reading goal in half and doing 52 books.
Oh.
Because
he wants to take it easy, and I'm going to totally smash him next year.
No, there are other things that I want to prioritize some of my spare time on next year. And when I set my reading goal so high, because I want to read more, then I will inevitably choose to read over those other things. So because there are a few other things, there's a couple like courses that I want to take. There's a number of courses that I want to take. And so what I'm thinking of doing is, in addition to setting a, like, instead of a 104 book for the year challenge, I'm going to set a goal of 52 books for the year, but also 1 course per month.
Oh,
so
that's right.
52 books,
I like that.
12 courses. Now these courses are like video based, and there's like, in some cases, maybe a dozen or 2 videos. In some cases, there's like 20 or 30 videos. And so like
on average,
they can be like 45 minutes to an hour long each. So it's a significant amount of time. So you can imagine if I'm spending a lot of my spare time just reading, I'm never going to go do those. And so but
if you have a goal of like every month, and you're like, okay, I'm going to take 20 minutes.
Because then I can be like, pick up my book, or you know what, I'm 2 episodes behind, or I'm 2 lessons behind on this course, and I have 3 days left of the year. I need to do this. So I'm hoping by adding that to my reading goal, kind of as a parallel to it, that will encourage me to do both, and I'll do more of those this year.
I think it's a really good idea. Jason's going to be going through like some seminary systematic theology courses and stuff like that, which sounds really fun. So that's going to be cool. And then he can just tell me the things he learned.
I was going to say, that sounded sarcastic. You're like, that sounds really fun.
That sounds really, I mean, I would love to do that. All right. So, well, you talked about, is there anything else? The last question I had, is there a skill or area you want to improve in the next year?
Well, it's taking those courses.
Yeah, that'll be your big kind of extra focus. Yeah, for me, I am definitely, my area I really want to kind of work on is I've been learning how to quilt this year. So I definitely have some quilting projects, and it definitely takes like time management skills to get these projects done. I have to make sure, like, if I'm very motivated right now because I have Christmas projects that I'm trying to get finished. So it's really motivating to me, though, that I need to get these things done as soon in the evening as I can, my chores of getting the kitchen cleaned up and getting any computer work done that I need to. So, and I'm like, I want to be done by 9 sharp. So I have an hour and a half that I can quilt. Like, I'm very like motivated to get that time in. And if I wasn't, then the quilting would never, ever happen. So I've got some quilting projects I'd like to do next year. And I'd also really like to learn how to do punch needle embroidery. I want to learn how to make rugs. That sounds super weird. But I first told Jason, he was like, what? And then I showed him pictures and he's like, okay, that's pretty cool.
Also just sounds violent.
Punch needle?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like jokes that it's like, oh, this is like an acceptable way to like get your anger out. Because you are kind of punching it. Mm. But I've done one little punch needle thing. And it looks easier than it is. It was really ugly. But that's one thing that I'd really like to learn is punch needles. So that's one of my things that I'd like to kind of work on next year. And then as far as for my reading goals, I have no idea what I'm going to do for next year yet. I have no clue because I've talked about doing, instead of having like number of books to read, I've been thinking more so about having different categories. Mm-hmm. So like every month I have to read a biography. Every month I have to read. And like, so Tim Challies does one.
Intentionally diversifying your reading more. Yeah.
Tim Challies. Which
I actually did this year by
just like naturally.
Without trying. I just did it. Yeah.
Tim Challies does his reading challenge every year is a lot like that, where he'll have like, but his are way more varied than I necessarily want. He'll have like read a comic book and read like something. I'm like, I'm good. I don't need one of those. But there's like a lot, like read a book written before 1850 or, like all these different categories. So I think I might try to take some of those and diversify in that way. We both been reading more classics the last couple of years. Yeah. Which I was reading a lot more up until the last like 2 or 3 months of classics. So that's a thing I'd like to get back to. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of things I'm kind of thinking through, but through December, these will be the areas. These will be kind of the questions we think through. I can't really think if there's anything else.
I think that's about it, at least that I've thought of so far.
Well, because goals then encompasses everything like that. So what I tend to do is we will set goals for our business. Mm-hmm. We'll set like overarching goals for the business, and then we will each have goals of our own for the business. Mm-hmm. Like Jason wants to write this book, or Jamie's going to write another cookbook. Like we'll have kind of our own goals. And then we have goals for, I set my own personal goals just for personal life. Like I want to read this many books. I want to exercise, whatever that is. And then we will set goals for our homeschool as well. Like mm-hmm. what are the 4 things? And usually it's about 4 things in each category. Yeah. And some of those are big year-long things. Some of them are just things that's like, we'd like to do this at some point. We'd like to take a field trip every month or, whatever kind of those goals are. So hopefully we'll have a couple videos for you as we head out of December. Hopefully we'll have some more formed thoughts. Yeah, well, I'm sure we'll have another episode like we did last year where we did like a planning and productivity for the new year with our themes and all that. And so once we've actually spent the next month thinking through all those things, we'll probably do an episode. Yeah. That's the next step of this process. Awesome. All right. So we will see you guys back here for that. We'll have a reading challenge. I mean, we've got all kinds of episodes that'll be coming up at some point, and I have no idea the schedule at this point because I'm very overwhelmed with November and very busy. So we're going to definitely get working on that. Yep. All right. So thank you so much for joining us for this episode. Don't forget to go check out our Christmas shop so that Jason has a lot more things to ship out. Finding Joy Bookstore. It's awesome. FindingJoyBookstore.com. You can go check out all of our stuff that we have. And we just, thanks for tuning in. And we'll see you guys back here next week for the next episode.